Alphax Scenario Builder is designed to coach you through the process of developing a custom scenario for use in your Alphax Fire training system. Within the custom scenario builder, you will be able to set your own training objectives, upload your own simulation files, and develop your own training curriculum for use within your department's training. To start, use your Helix login credentials to sign into the system. This keeps your scenarios personal to your department and helps you keep track of their progress. Once you have logged in, you will have the ability to edit your previously created scenarios or start one from scratch. To start a scenario from scratch, simply click the Start New box and provide a title for your scenario, then click Get Started. The first stage within the Alphax Scenario Builder is about developing your overall event. The overall event we describe as an epic setup. In this epic setup, you will be asked to provide an introduction for the series of training scenarios that you will develop underneath the umbrella epic. Give a brief summary of the event epic, and then create a list of learning objectives for this training epic. Once you have done this, you can move forward to the next stage of the epic setup, which will be where you determine how many scenarios you would like to fall under this overall event umbrella. This next stage, Decision Point Setup, is where we will determine the number of scenarios we want to fall under the event epic. Within this, each decision point that we set up will introduce a new series of questions that we will be asked to determine what the scenario should look like and how the user should interact with that scenario throughout its process. To add a decision point or a scenario, simply click in the blocks and hit Add. Up at the top, you'll see that that decision point will be added to the tabbed approach and will be available for you to use as navigation point should you want to jump to that particular decision point or scenario. You can add as many decision points as you would like along the way to add additional scenarios underneath your event epic. Once you have completed this process, you're going to move forward in the epic setup to identify the common address that all the scenarios will share throughout the trainee scenario play. In the address stage of the epic setup, the address you provide below will allow Alphax Fire to display the location of your incident in Google Maps when playing the scenario. This will apply to all decision point scenarios within your epic. Fill out the street address and it will automatically create the visual aspects of the Google Maps interaction within Alphax Fire. In the final stage of your epic setup, you will identify the timing of your first arriving resources to the event scene. You will first identify when the units were dispatched, followed by the time the first unit arrived on scene. To facilitate the changes within the system, you can either edit within the box, or you can click the blue button next to the text field to create a counter tool that will help facilitate your changes. Once you have made the appropriate changes, you will now have completed your epic setup and are able to move forward to the first decision point. As you begin developing your decision point or scenario, you'll notice that there are a number of stages involved in the development of your scenario, similar to how you will see it within the Alphax Fire training. To get started with the first stage, we will work to identify the resources that we want to make available during our scenario. You can use your department's standard response resources, or adds scenario difficulty by limiting or increasing your typical resources. To identify a responding unit, provide a title for that unit and click the Add button. Once you have done so, you will be asked a subset of questions working to identify the type of unit. You'll also identify what page this unit will arrive upon within the ALFACT Fire training. And finally, you will be asked to identify the time length within seconds of when that resource will arrive on that particular page. Once you have identified the timing of the resources that you have created, you can add additional resources and make those available by clicking in the box and starting afresh. Once you have identified the resources that you would like to have arrive on scene within this first scenario, move forward to the next stage of your scenario development. In this next stage, you will have the opportunity to develop the visuals within scenario play. You can upload your pictures or videos to create a visual representation for your event scene. To add a new visual, identify which side of the visual this particular image will represent. You can put the Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, or Delta side, and click Add to determine what file will be uploaded to the system to represent your event scene. You can attach a visual component by clicking New and resourcing your files within your computer. Once you have uploaded a file, you'll see the uploading icon to indicate the length of time it will take before that imagery is processed and in the system. During the process of upload, you will not be able to add additional imagery until that file has been saved. Once it has been saved, add additional visual components and identify the section you would like them to be attached to, and continue forward until you have completed the number of visuals you want to represent your event scene. Once you've completed this stage, move forward to the radio communication stage in dispatch. Dispatch will represent the first pieces of information available to the user during scenario play. This initial dispatch report can be simply a textual representation of the verbal communication, or it can be supplemented by an audio upload from your own audio recordings to help create that realism within scenario play. Once you've completed the initial dispatch page, you'll move forward to the en route dispatch information. With a similar setup to the previous page, you will create your textual representation of the information provided by dispatch en route to the event scene. Once again, you can upload an audio recording of this en route dispatch as a supplement to the textual representation. Once this is completed, you will move forward to the characterize step of your scenario creation. In the characterize stage, you will be asked to identify the correct answers to a series of size-up questions available within the ALFACT Fire initial interview. Just like you would in the actual ALFACT Fire scenario, you will be walked through a series of questions to identify the unique characteristics of your event scene. As you work through this process, you will be reminded of the same process that is available on the initial stages of Characterize within the ALFACT Fire training. As you answer the questions to the size-up process, you are identifying the correct answers that the student will be evaluated against when they work through the same size-up process within the actual scenario play. Once you have completed this question set, you will move forward to identify the communications that will become the injects within Characterize from your various resources. Communication across your resources plays a pivotal role in gaining situational awareness and understanding for the trainee. You will be able to interact with the questions to create a dialogue of information injects or examples of standard communication protocol for use within your scenario. To add a communication item, you start by labeling what the communication is going to be called in order for you to manage it from an organizational perspective. Type in the box and label that communication and click Add to reveal a subset of questions that you will work to identify in order to create your communication. First, select the resource you want to say this particular piece of information. Then, input what they said. You can leave this as a textual inject, or you can upload an audio recording for this communication item as well. You can add additional communications, and each communication that's added will appear on the particular page, in this case Characterize, in the order in which it's displayed on this page. You can change the order of the various communications by clicking on the title, holding, and dragging to a new section within the order index. Once you have set up the communications that will appear on the Characterize page, you'll be able to move forward to the next step. Just as we did in the Characterize page, we are going to work through the Recognize interview process to identify the appropriate answers to the various size-up questions. As we answer questions within the Recognize stage, we are associating those answers with the correct approach to sizing up your particular event scene. Once again, this will be what the student is evaluated against as they move through the size-up process and they finish the scenario and are given feedback within the final stage of scenario play. Once you have finished the process of moving through the questions and answering the appropriate questions, you will move forward to identify what additional pieces of information that someone playing the scenario should observe. This is your opportunity to customize the questions and their answers by identifying unique pieces of information that will help in the size-up process for this particular scenario. All other questions and answers are static within the scenario play, but for this particular question set within Recognize, you will be able to use a filter box to add answer options to help the user identify their size-up information. Simply type within the filter box to start filtering through the list of possible answer options within our database of characteristics and cues. Select the characteristic or cue you want to display within the answer options, and then click Add. Once you've clicked Add, provide an explanation why this particular answer option is important to the scenario. In order to add additional difficulty, when the scenario is developed, we will add in additional faulty cues to make sure that the student is correctly identifying the cues and characteristics that you have enabled as correct cues within this process. They will be evaluated on their ability to work through the jumble of information to pull out the appropriate pieces according to their size-up process. Once you have completed the explanation stage of your indicators, move forward to Analyze. Analyze represents the third step in the 6-step decision process. In this stage, the user will have the opportunity to review cases from history that the artificial intelligence engine has selected as matching cases. The goal of this stage is for the user to correctly identify a matching event representing good situational understanding. To help facilitate this match process, as the scenario developer, you can identify what your situation is based upon within the significant event checklist. Once you have identified this significant event or a series of significant events, click Next to identify a potential matching case from your own Rolodex file. This is an optional process where you can upload your personal experiences to become part of the Rolodex file of events that the AI will review in finding relevant cases from history for the student to base their response upon. When you are finished with this step, move forward to the Customize stage. In Customize, this will be about determining your initial considerations for response. You can identify your own strategic considerations for the student to compare themselves to. And you will be able to develop your own situational awareness test to evaluate the student's understanding of their given situation. You can choose from an existing library of questions or create your own question. With either option, you will have the opportunity to create a set of answer options for the student. Once you've added an answer option, you will be asked to rate the effectiveness of this particular answer option, which will be accounted for within their overall feedback score. Once you have identified the score, identify the reasons why this particular approach is effective or ineffective. You can provide multiple answer options to a given question, and you can also increase the level of difficulty by providing a few answer options that are ineffective in this particular situation. Move forward once you have finished this to the final stage, Utilize. The goal of the Utilize page is to assess their situational understanding by reviewing their course of action so far and testing it against a situational judgment test. Just as before, you can identify an existing question or create a new one that promotes tactical thinking. Provide answer options, rate those answer options, and provide feedback for those answer options, just as you did in the Customize stage. Once you have finished this tactical response question, move forward to developing your scenario takeaways. The scenario takeaways are your opportunity to highlight key characteristics of this particular scenario that you wish the student to take away with them in their response techniques. You can identify these in paragraph form in a bullet style approach that will then be made available to the student after their scenario play and before they receive their feedback within Alphact Fire. Once you have completed this stage, move forward to the final stage, which is the review process. In the scenario submission stage, you will have the opportunity to add any additional information that you believe is important for consideration by the QA team within this scenario. We highly encourage you to move backwards throughout the scenario creation by clicking the tabs at the top to review the information that you have inputted so far. At the bottom of the screen is a Save and Submit Scenario button that you can click at any point in time as you review your scenario. You can also simply click Save and Submit from this screen, and you will then submit this particular scenario to the AlphaTrack Products QA team, who will ensure that your scenario meets the highest standards of quality before it is put into play. Once you have submitted that, this concludes the scenario development portion. You will be notified when your scenario has been completed within the QA stage and is available for training. If you want to review your cases and go back and edit any existing information, you can visit the Cases page and use the search function to find your particular case. This concludes the overview of the Scenario Builder tool.